She disappeared for weeks, maybe months, no explanation, no apology. Then suddenly, ping, she texts you. Just a simple, hey. One word that hits harder than it should. Your chest tightens, your mind races. You wonder, is she back? Does she want me again? Should I reply? Hold up. This isn't just a message, it's a moment that will decide everything about how she sees you from this point forward. Most men blow it, bad, not because they're weak, but because no one ever taught them how the game actually works. And right now, I'm going to show you how to play it like a man who never loses frame. 1. Why she's really reaching out. When a woman you've had no contact with suddenly reappears in your inbox, whether it's been days, weeks, or even months, the instinct is to see it as a breakthrough. Your brain might rush to the conclusion that she missed you, that she's been thinking about you, regretting her silence, or maybe even reconsidering everything that led to the distance. That one word, hey, hits your screen, and somehow it feels like a dam breaking. But before your emotions take the wheel, pause and look closer. Because in most cases, that message isn't about you. It's about her timing, her insecurity, her curiosity, her control. This isn't an emotional reconnection. It's a test. Whether she realizes it consciously or not, she's reaching out to see something, to feel something, to know something. Specifically, she wants to know, are you still emotionally available? Have you been sitting by your phone, hoping she'd come back? Did she still leave a mark deep enough that you'll jump the second she tosses you a breadcrumb? That little message is rarely about love. It's a probe. It's a way of measuring your emotional temperature without risking her own vulnerability. She wants information, not intimacy. Now think about this. If she truly valued you, truly missed you, truly wanted something real again, would she reach out with just, hey, or what's up? Would she test the waters so lightly? Number? She'd be direct, honest, vulnerable. But a casual message with zero context usually signals something very different. It often means she's curious, bored, or seeking attention. Maybe things didn't work out with the guy she left you for. Maybe she saw your latest photo looking confident and attractive and suddenly felt insecure. Maybe your silence is louder than any message, and it's triggering something in her. But whatever the reason, know this. It's not random. It's calculated. Women, especially the emotionally intelligent ones, rarely act without intent when it comes to relationships. Their intuition is sharp. Their emotional radar is stronger than you think. That hey might feel simple, but it's layered with motive. It might be loneliness. It might be ego. It might be jealousy. And here's the hard truth. She might not want you back. She might just want to know she could have you back if she wanted to. That's ego maintenance, not emotional connection. She's not asking to rebuild something meaningful. She's trying to confirm that she still has a grip on your mind. And unfortunately, this is where most men trip and fall. They treat the message as hope instead of strategy. They open the door wide and respond instantly, handing her all the power in the process. The emotional energy shifts. You were building strength, rebuilding confidence, maybe even moving on. And now, you're back in a mental loop you thought you had escaped. All because of one message. That's why you need to stop thinking with your heart in moments like these and start thinking with awareness. Just because she reaches out doesn't mean she deserves access. Just because she texts doesn't mean she's changed. And just because you miss her doesn't mean she's healthy for you. Before you respond, you have to ask yourself, what is she really trying to see right now? What's happening in her world that made her reach out? What need is she trying to satisfy? Because 9 times out of 10, that text is not a sign of real emotional investment. It's a test of yours. Don't fall for the illusion that love has come knocking. She might just want to see if the door is still unlocked. 2. The biggest mistake men make. This is the moment where most men lose the game before it even begins. The message arrives, it's unexpected. Your heart jumps, your fingers twitch. You want to reply instantly because in your mind, it feels like a second chance, like an open door you've been standing in front of for weeks. But the second you reply too fast, without thought, without pause, without presence, you hand over all the power. You turn what could have been a strategic moment into an emotional surrender. You might think you're being polite, that you're showing interest, that replying quickly will show her how much you care. But from her perspective, it tells her something entirely different. It screams eagerness, neediness, emotional dependence. It says, I've been waiting for you to message me. I'm still here, still available, still hoping. And while your intention may be pure, the impression it gives off is anything but powerful. It communicates that you haven't moved on, that your emotional world still revolves around her decisions. And that's the most unattractive signal a man can send. Here's what you have to understand. Women are extremely perceptive when it comes to emotional signals. They pick up on the pace, the tone, the urgency in your reply. A fast emotional response tells her that you're still emotionally tethered to her, even if you thought you had let go. It tells her that despite the silence, despite her absence, you've been mentally waiting in the wings, hoping she'd come back. And once she knows that, she has the power again. Not because she's manipulative, but because she knows where you stand. She can predict your moves, and in a dynamic where attraction and polarity matter, predictability kills desire. Many men don't realize they're doing this. They respond with long messages. They pour out everything they've been feeling. They tell her they missed her, that they're glad she reached out, that they never stopped thinking about her. And in doing so, they take all the mystery, all the self-control, all the progress they have made, and throw it away in one emotional outburst. And let me be clear, this isn't about playing games. It's about protecting your emotional value, about preserving your self-respect. Because when you respond without thinking, without strategy, you expose something you may not want to expose, your emotional availability to someone who hasn't earned it. There's a reason why women pull away when a man becomes too eager. It's not about cruelty or indifference. It's about biology and psychology. Women are drawn to men who feel grounded, centered, unshaken. When a man replies instantly, he comes off as emotionally unstable because real confidence moves slowly. It's deliberate. It doesn't panic. It doesn't rush. It observes. It chooses. It controls. If you're always ready to jump at her attention, she knows she has you. And that certainty often kills her attraction. Think of it like this. If your response is predictable, there's no tension. If there's no tension, there's no intrigue. And without intrigue, there's no magnetism. That's how interest dies. That's how women lose respect, without even understanding why. It's not the message itself. It's the way you respond to the message that reveals your entire emotional frame. And once that frame is exposed, it's either admired or dismissed. So, before you text back, before you let your emotions speak first, you need to pause. Ask yourself, am I replying to connect or to prove something? Am I calm or am I trying to regain control I feel I've lost? Real power is not about saying the perfect thing. It's about waiting until you are ready to respond from a position of strength, not emotion. And that strength begins with silence, with self-control, with choosing to respond, not react. Because a man who reacts gives away his position. A man who pauses makes others question theirs. 3. What a high-value man does. A high-value man doesn't panic when she reaches out. He doesn't see the message as a lifeline or a magical sign that she's come to her senses. He doesn't assume it means she's finally realized what she lost. He doesn't rush to reply or start crafting the perfect response to win her back. In fact, he doesn't rush at all. He slows everything down. Because his first instinct isn't emotional, it's analytical. He doesn't ask, what do I want to say? He asks, why is she saying this now? That one shift in mindset changes everything. When a man operates from value, he understands that time, attention, and emotional energy are all investments, and they must be protected. He doesn't throw them at anyone just because they come knocking. He evaluates first. He observes. He considers context. Maybe she messaged him after weeks of silence. Maybe it came right after she saw a story of him, out with friends, smiling, dressed sharp, looking confident. Or after he posted a big win, buying a new car, starting a new business, hitting the gym hard. A high-value man notices the pattern. He knows people come back not always because they want you, but because they feel they're losing access to you. That's a massive difference. Instead of reacting emotionally, he views the message with curiosity. Why now? He asks. What shifted in her world? Was there something in his life that triggered a reaction in hers? A moment of insecurity, a flicker of jealousy, a need for reassurance that he hasn't moved on? A woman reaching out randomly after a long silence rarely means nothing. It almost always has emotional intent. But that intent doesn't automatically deserve his response. He doesn't owe her access just because she finally decided to reach out. And he doesn't go chasing closure. He doesn't try to reopen old conversations or dig for explanations. Why? Because a high-value man is not fueled by loose ends. He's fueled by clarity. And he already created his own closure the moment he chose peace over confusion. If someone walked out without giving him clarity, he didn't sit in confusion. He chose not to beg. He chose not to chase. He built himself. He moved forward. And now that she's back, he's not eager to rewind the tape. He's questioning whether she even belongs in the next scene. A man who knows his value doesn't react because his emotions are no longer controlled by someone else's actions. He no longer needs to prove anything. He doesn't seek validation because he validates himself. He doesn't wonder if she's still interested. He decides whether he is, and more importantly, he understands that real power comes not from being desired, but from being selective. He doesn't need to show off or remind her what she lost. His growth is loud enough. His silence says more than any long message ever could. He's built a life now that no longer revolves around her attention. He's not waiting in the shadows for breadcrumbs. He's focused on his mission. His time is structured. His emotions are in check. And his energy is too valuable to be wasted on uncertainty. When a woman texts him, he's not triggered, he's tested. And whether he chooses to engage or not, he does so from a place of strength. Quiet, grounded, immovable strength. That's the man she didn't expect. That's the man she thought she could reach with a simple, "Hey." But now, she's not just texting someone who's waiting. She's texting someone who's elevated, who's evolved, and who understands that responding isn't just about talking. It's about setting the tone for how he's treated going forward. How to reply like a man in control. If you do choose to reply, and that's a big if, you need to understand that how you respond sets the entire tone of what happens next. This isn't just a message you're sending. It's a message about your mindset, your emotional intelligence, and your value. A man in control doesn't reply emotionally. He replies intentionally. There's a huge difference. You're not responding to reconnect. You're responding, if at all, to see if this even fits within the standards you now live by. Let's get one thing clear. You are not obligated to reply to anyone who reappears after ignoring you, disrespecting you, or walking away without explanation. Silence is always a valid response. But if you decide that engaging is the right move, your reply needs to come from a place of clarity, composure, and confidence. You don't get sucked into the emotional game. You don't mirror her casualness by pretending nothing happened. You don't over-explain, apologize, or try to rekindle something. You don't type out your feelings like you're trying to win her back. That's how boys react. Men, high-value men, respond from a place of self-respect. When she texts you something vague like, "Hey, how have you been?" or "I was just thinking about you," most men think the polite thing to do is match the energy and dive into conversation. They'll say things like, "I've been thinking about you too," or "It's so good to hear from you." That kind of response tells her everything she needs to know, that she still has emotional leverage over you, that you're still available, that you've been waiting. And when she senses that, it kills the mystery. It tells her that she can come and go as she pleases, and you'll always be there when she decides to return. Instead, your job is to flip the power dynamic, not by being rude, cold, or passive-aggressive, but by being calm, direct, and unapologetically secure. If she says, "Hey," you don't chase the interaction. You reply with something simple like, "Interesting. What's on your mind?" That one sentence changes everything. It shifts the emotional pressure back to her. It forces her to explain why she's back, why she broke the silence, what she's looking for. You're not handing her control. You're holding your frame and making her step into yours. That kind of response communicates volumes without saying much. It says, "I'm not surprised you're back, but I'm not bending to you either." It says, "I'm not holding a grudge, but I also don't owe you softness." It says, "If you want to be here, you need to bring more than just curiosity. You need to bring clarity." That's the energy a high-value man leads with. Subtle, unbothered, and solid. And what happens next? It's simple. If she's genuine, she'll step up. She'll own the reach out. She'll show vulnerability. She'll open a real conversation. But if she's just feeding her ego, if she's just checking to see if she can still trigger a reaction, she'll likely disappear again. And when that happens, you don't flinch. Because your worth was never tied to her message in the first place. You didn't reply to seek connection. You replied to observe her intent. That's what strategic men do. Power in communication isn't about talking more. It's about saying less with more weight. Every word a high-value man says is intentional, controlled, measured. He's not afraid of silence. He doesn't need validation. He doesn't use texting as a way to relive the past or try to change her mind. He uses it to clarify whether someone belongs in his future. And if the answer is no, he walks. No drama, no explanation, no regret. Because that's what leadership looks like in emotional situations. That's how a man operates who knows his time is limited and his peace is priceless. He doesn't allow himself to be emotionally stirred by the same energy that once hurt him. He's no longer trying to reopen closed chapters. He's living in the next one, and only people who come with honesty, respect, and consistency are allowed in. This moment isn't about texting her back. It's about taking your power back. You don't need to be cold. You need to be clear. She walked away once, and if you let her, she'll do it again. But not this time. This time, you move with purpose. You respond only if it aligns with your standards. You don't chase, you lead. Because you're not the same man she once knew. You've evolved, and she's about to find that out. If you found value in this, and you know other men need to hear this too, support this channel. By doing so, you help us keep these real conversations alive and accessible for every man who's trying to level up. Share this with a brother who's been through it. Hit follow, drop a fire emoji in the comments if you're done playing games, and type empowered if you made it to the end. Your support fuels this mission, and your growth changes everything. Let's help more men move with strength, not emotion. And remember, the most powerful reply is one that protects your peace,